A very interesting move will be made by the Milwaukee Brewers here in the offseason, as a brand new report has suggested one player in specific the Brewers are going to be looking at. We're going to be breaking that down, as well as going over quotes from Quinn Priester about last night's game. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video. Before we do jump into it, though, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. We know that just over 98% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel, and if you're looking for a spot for all of your Milwaukee Brewers news, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button, join me here on the channel. We have so much to cover after this team has been putting up some spectacles as of late, and we have no signs of slowing down. And be sure to hit the sub button if you want your daily Brewers updates right here. But we need to get straight into this now. This is a bit of a different one, as the Brewers do play tonight against the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're going to be touching a little bit here on that in the end of the video, as well as quotes from Quinn Priester. But first, we need to touch on a very interesting update regarding the Milwaukee Brewers, and a move that likely will be made here in this offseason. As we know, there are going to be some moves made on the starting pitching side of things here in this offseason. I think the best way to kind of start this is going over where this article first starts off from Sports Illustrated, saying in the offseason they might need some starting pitching help, as Jose Quintana and Brandon Woodruff are free agents. They still have Freddy Peralta and Jacob Misiorowski, so they won't be too desperate, but they'll need to find a way to replace the other arms if they depart in free agency. Perhaps they could take a flyer on Shane Bieber, who is a player option for 26 that he may decline. And of course, being traded to the Blue Jays now, he's a very interesting player who is set from a Tommy John surgery rehab and is set to make his debut fairly soon, perhaps against this Brewers team at the end of the month. But looking at Shane Bieber as an option, we're going to kind of jump into more about in here in a moment. It's going to be a very interesting one to start off with the Milwaukee Brewers based on their in-house pitching. And as I mentioned as well, going in from a lot of these pitchers, Jose Quintana, Brandon Woodruff, who's been here for such a long time, has been absolutely dealing again this year since returning from injury. He's a player that, may choose to go elsewhere, and the same goes for Jose Quintana. And as good as this rotation is, they're going to have to still make some changes likely regardless of what happens, especially if there are some players that, don't bounce back next year. We hope that's not the case, but also coming into the potential of going elsewhere in free agency. And, of course, Logan Henderson, Jacob Misiorowski, Freddy Peralta. There's been trade reports on Freddy Peralta, but there's no way they go out and trade him. I think that they do have a very good rotation regardless of what happens, but going and putting this out there, because Bieber will have missed most of the season recovering from his injury, he might come at a discounted rate if he opts out of his contract. This could be good news for the small market Brewers, who typically don't spend big in free agency, but could take the chance on him as a value option. So things are out there. Things are circling regarding Shane Bieber, as kind of reports are coming out from a few different teams regarding the same opinion, and going out of their way to kind of go out and have a look at Shane Bieber this year would be a very smart option to do based on price, based on, kind of not market size surrounding Shane Bieber himself, but how many teams are going to be really willing to take a look at him after his second Tommy John surgery. So going into this, I think the Brewers are a very interesting team to watch here. Now, I don't think anything is set in stone. I don't think that anything is guaranteed here, but as an option that Shane Bieber brings to the table, he's one that I think the Brewers would certainly like to take a look at as, maybe even a third starter if needed, but he's shown that he's been able to be an all-star Cy Young winner, and if he's back healthy, he is a very interesting option. And even coming up and taking a look at the stats from Shane Bieber this year, or not this year, excuse me, because he hasn't played this year, but last year, going into, the 2 games that he played, going from 2023, where he really had a good year, and then kind of going up throughout his career, and that 2020 year, 1.63 ERA, just an absolutely insane set of, games there, but also going throughout his career, 31 games, 21 games in 2023, 2 in 2024, so, that's really when the injury stemmed, but has been very solid throughout his career, and really has shown that he can pitch wherever, whenever, and he can show that, under any circumstance, he's able to go out there and strike a guy out when needed. And I think that's exactly what the Brewers are looking for, and that's exactly what they have now that they like to get. They don't want any of these guys or necessarily need any of these guys that are throwing gas out there, but they're getting guys that are exactly what they need regarding their kind of pitching mentality throughout this year. So I'm curious to see what you guys think about Shane Bieber here as well, because obviously I think nothing is set in stone. I think there's still a lot of moving parts on every aspect of this, but as an option, I don't want to jump into too much of this early on, as we are, very, very good spot in this season, but there are multiple reports coming out with this, so I figured I'd touch on it just to get your guys' opinion here in the comments below. And one more thing before we do go on to our updates regarding the Pittsburgh Pirates as well as Quinn Priester's comments, I want to just pull up the rotation as well, because as we look at it, we can really build a next season rotation out of this, and kind of assuming, let's just assume that Jose Quintana and Brent Woodruff will no longer be in this rotation. You go Freddy Peralta, Quinn Priester, Jacob Mizorowski, Logan Henderson, and I would even go Robert Gass. There's an option there for a fifth starter, whether you want to bring someone in the prospect pool. There's lots of options, but you can easily make a rotation out of what we have now, but getting a guy like Shane Bieber would just continue to add to that and, really be a risk-free potential cheap signing if, of course, he does opt out and, of course, does have that kind of discounted price as the injury still pertains in recent memory. But I want to know what you guys think about that there in the comments below. But I do want to move on as well to Quinn Priester's comments and go over what he had to say about last game. And now this is what he had to say. It's indescribable, he said, after giving up a season-high 11 hits to Adam McCalvy of MLB.com. He says, they definitely made up for a lot of my miscues today, but it's a team game. I love being a part of this team because otherwise I wouldn't be able to smile right now. And I wanted to pull this up because this is exactly the mentality that I've kind of been talking about that this Brewers team has, and what Matt Arnold described before the trade deadline about this Brewers team without having to go out and make some of these major trades that would get rid of some of the important pieces of this team, maybe not on the score sheet, but that would change the chemistry of this team. And that just goes to show, this team, of course, the battle back last night with the ultimate walk-off home run from Isaac Collins is just absolutely insane after what we saw from Blake Perkins in the outfield throwing out Starling Marte at home. 2 games back-to-back and a series, Game 1, Game 3, and ultimately a Game 2 win as well. Going out and doing this, genuinely insane. So seeing this team's chemistry kind of written all, putting this all together and kind of how it all correlates, I just wanted to pull this up because obviously it's a great thing going forward with this Milwaukee Brewers team. But going in as well, I want to just kind of show his last few games, kind of, ultimately seeing that even though last game, 10 hits, 6 earned runs, they still get the win there. He didn't, but the team still won. And of course, that's why he could say he could smile. This team came back and fought back for a major win, and you see that as well throughout their 8 hits, 2 earned runs, still a very good start there, and it just goes to show the chemistry that this team has. But going on to our next series, of course, before we do finish this video off, the Pittsburgh Pirates going a day off, the final day off on August 14th for the month before we go into another major set of matchups here. But this is not going to be an easy series. Pirates, not the greatest team, but when you go and take a look at their starting pitching, they do have Andrew Heaney, Paul Skeens, and Mitch Keller lined up, and it's not going to be an easy battle. The pitching's going to have to be on. They don't have the greatest hitters, but these bats are going to need to be on as well, especially in Game 2 against Paul Skeens, where he's not an easy matchup at all. So we're going to have to take this day by day and go and see how this works out. But, it's only a thing that we have to wait and see how it goes. And I'm expecting another big series here. We can't expect another sweep, but if this team does it, oh my Lord, we're going to have to break it all down. And throughout the next few days and as we go over the remainder of the month. But that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out, though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.